The Alibi Man Chapter 23. So, how do you know my father? The best defense is a good offense. I took a seat beside Jim Brody at a table in a seventh circle, one of the members' only bars at the International Polo Club. Located in the grandstand, it was smaller and more private than the Mallet Grill and Bar in the clubhouse. And unobtrusive paneled door on one end wall led into the wanderer's room, a small private dining room with five-star chef for those intimate dinners among the obnoxiously rich. Brody held the waitress. We had a client in common a couple of years ago, Dushan Upton. Dushan Upton, aka Uptown, NBA All-Star, guard and known wife beater, on trial for assassinating the murder of a pregnant girlfriend. Another sterling character, wealthy enough to buy the support and loyalty of Edward Estates. I was aware of the case, not because my father had been in the news, but because the case had been the news while I was a captive television audience, languishing in a hospital bed, recovering from being dragged down Okeechobee Boulevard like a rag doll caught in the door of a pickup truck. He's a hell of a lawyer, Brody said. Hell of a poker player, too. It's easy to bluff if you don't have a conscience. He looked at me as if he wasn't sure what planet I was from. What did he ever do to you to make you such a loving daughter? Nothing, I said. Nothing at all. We have philosophical differences. You don't believe Dushan was innocent? He tried to look astonished, even amused. I didn't pretend amusement with him. No one believed Dushan was innocent. The jurors didn't believe Dushan was innocent, but they'd been beaten over the head with reasonable doubt until they couldn't see straight. Thanks to my father, another criminal walks away scot-free. A real tribute to our system of jurisprudence. Brody raised his eyebrows. He probably wasn't used to women who had opinions and could speak in compound sentences. This made me intriguing to him, which was a good thing. Should I give him your regards when I see him then? He asked. Only if you want to ruin his evening, I said sweetly. And when will that be? I'll put it on my calendar. Some disease of the week charity shindig at Mar-a-Lago next week. How surreal it seemed sitting there suddenly 1 degree of separation away from my father after 20 years of living in an alternate universe. I didn't like it. I didn't like the idea of him knowing anything about me. I didn't want to be in his head. I didn't want to imagine my mother thinking about me, wondering what I was up to, which meant I had managed to convince myself that neither of them had ever had a thought about me in years. Out of sight, out of mind. It was easier for me to think that, easier for me to stay away. If they wanted to reach me, they had to know where I was. My name was in the papers the year before connected to the Ellen Seabright kidnapping case connected to Sean. If they wanted me to be part of their lives, they could have reached out then. They didn't. This is looking entirely too serious, Ball says, taking a seat next to me. What has he done? He asked, nodding his head toward Brody. We were just reliving old times, I said. No sense in doing that unless they were the kind of old times that make us smile and laugh, Ball said. That would have severely limited my ability to converse, I thought, but I didn't say it. The waitress delivered a round of drinks. Her eyes never left Barbaro. She managed to put her cleavage in his face as she bent over to get the cocktail napkins just right. He graced her with a polite smile as he said, Gracias, but his attention was on me. Impressive. All the godlike playboys I had ever known wouldn't have shown that kind of restraint, no matter how much they wanted to retain my attention. Elena works with horses, he said to Brody. For a second, Brody looked a little confused, trying to put together the fact that I was the daughter of Edward Estes but worked in a stable. But he was at least as good a poker player as my father, and the confusion was hitting so quickly anyone else might have thought they had bargained it. I prefer to make an honest living, I quote, toasting him with my drink. I'd ride for Sean Avendon. I don't know him. He's not into polo. This said as if no one outside polo was worth knowing. No, I said, but don't feel bad. I'm sure he doesn't know or care who you are either. Brody laughed loud and from his belly. I like her, Juan, he said to Barbaro, as if Barbaro was presenting me as a prospective concubine. She's got sass. I like sass. It's your lucky day, I said. I'm overflowing with sass. Elena worked with Irina Markova, Barbaro said. Brody didn't miss a beat. He must have been something at the bargaining table. Irina? Nice girl, terrible shamed what happened. Yes, I said, though it had become quite clear to me that nice girls didn't run with this crowd. We'll miss her. I understand you saw her that night she went missing. Brody nodded as he took a sip of his 30-year-old scotch. She was at the party at Flayer's. I think she gave me a dance. But I have to say, as a guest of honor, I was having too good a time to remember much. You don't remember if she was at the after party, I asked. I could have been a hell of a poker player myself. There was no after party that I know of, Brody said. He looked away from me as he dug into the breast pocket of his aloha shirt. I must have misunderstood, I said. I thought someone told me there was. I guess she could have said maybe there was an after party. Who's that? He asked, glancing at me from under his brows. I shook my head. Not important, obviously I misheard. Tony Arvada drove me home. We sat and smoked cigars, Brody said, pulling one out of his pocket like a magician pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Are you sure you're not your father's daughter? He asked. This is sounding a lot like an interrogation. I'm sorry, I said, sitting back. I took a sip of my vodka tonic. What can I say? That's what passed for a conversation in our house. I grew up thinking cross examination and redirect were normal components of social intercourse. Irina was a friend. I wanted to see her killer brought to justice. So do I, Brody said. I just think someone who saw her that night might know something, might have seen something and not even realized it. Brody made a motion with his cigar. Juan was there. Did anybody strike you as odd, Juan? Elena and I have already had this conversation, Barbaro said. I wish I could say I saw something, heard something, but I was busy having a good time. Like you, like everyone. Brody lit the cigar, took a big pull on it, and exhaled, looking up at the smoke. The attraction of cigars is entirely lost on me. They smell like burning dog shit. Maybe we should establish a reward of some kind, he said. Money talks or makes people talk. I'll do that, he said, making an exclusive decision. I'll call that detective. What was his name? Landry? I asked. What's a good amount for a reward? 10,000? 20? 50? I'm sure that's up to you, I said. That's very generous of you. Whatever you decide. He waved it off. It's the least I can do. I feel responsible in a way. After all, she was last seen at my birthday party, except by her killer, I pointed out. The doors to the bar opened and Bennett Walker stepped in. His hair was slicked back and he wore a pair of black Gucci wraparounds, despite the fact that the sun had already begun to slip over the horizon. He was halfway to our table before he realized I was sitting there. He hesitated, but I didn't give him a chance to escape. What interesting timing you have, Ben, I said dryly. Barbaro frowned at me. Bennett sat down across from me. The joke's on me, I guess. Something like that. He waved a hand at the waitress, and she turned and went back to the bar to get his drink without having to ask what he wanted. A regular, maybe too regular. He looked a little rough around the edges. Surprised to see you here, Bennett, Jim Brody said, his face neutral. Bennett shrugged. A guy's gotta be somewhere. Why not among friends? He looked directly at me and said, exception noted, Elena. Brody raised an eyebrow. You two know each other? In a past life, I said. I could see the wheels turning in Brody's head. He would be all over this. He hadn't made his fortune without knowing the background on every client and every adversary he had. Their mother's maiden name, the date they lost their both to the first two, and their first job and their virginity. He had known, probably known before anyone, that Dushan Upton was capable of having a pregnant woman killed. He would have the story on my relationship with Bennett Walker with the snap of my fingers. He now knew my father was Edward Estes. He probably knew that my father had been Bennett's defense attorney. Not hard to put the pieces together. My life was a jigsaw puzzle for ages 9 and up. Mr. Brody had decided to offer a reward for information leading to arrest of Irina Matkova's killer, I said to Bennett. Good thinking, he said, glancing at his friend. A vaguely strange response, I thought. Good thinking because it would help the case, or good thinking because it would take away suspension? Was Jim Brody's generous offer tantamount to the Alibi Club version of O.J. hunting for the real killer? In that case, he could make the reward as extravagant as he wanted because he knew he would never pay out. You might as well write the check to Elena, Bennett said. She claims to have a nose for this kind of thing. What kind of thing is that? I asked, not quite able to keep the edge out of my voice. Know a criminal when I see one? The waitress arrived with his drink and gave him the same treatment she had given Barbara. Bennett shoved his sunglasses back on his head and gave her his undivided attention, but there was a coldness in his eyes that made my skin crawl. Elena was a police detective, he said as the woman walked away with his eyes on her ass. Are you surprised I would know that? He asked, turning to look at me. I'm surprised you would bother to, I said flatly. Am I supposed to be flattered? Brody set his cigar down and stared at me. A detective? What kind of a detective? Homicide? Narcotics? Oh no, Ben said without emotion. I've broken you of cover. I don't need a cover. I don't have anything to hide, I said. Besides, I'm not in that line of work anymore. Then why are you here? He asked pointedly. I was invited for my charming company and witty party. Why are you here? Besides soaking your liver in vodka for the third night in a row that I know of. From the corner of my eye, I could see Bybal looking unhappy or angry or both. I'm surprised you didn't go into sex crimes investigation, Bennett remarked, vague as you are on the subject. Bybal leaned forward him, raising both hands in front of him. Enough, he said quietly. None of us came here to have a bad time. Enough. I didn't start it, Bennett said, petulant. No, you're never responsible for anything, I returned. You pass gas and it's someone else's fault. Jesus Christ, Brody said. The two of you sound like you're married. I looked away from Bennett, pulling in a slow, deep breath, trying to rein myself in. I am all and always have been my own worst enemy. I should have kept my cool with him. I should have at least pretended not to be affected by him. By my emotions regarding Bennett, Walker had been held inside me like a festering abscess for a very long time. A person who said time heals all wounds didn't know jack shit. No, I said to Brody, trying to force the half smile. I now managed to escape that fate. I should be going, I said, sliding out of my chair. After all, I am not a member of the club, and I, if any of them caught the double entendre, they didn't let on. I had taken a couple steps toward the door before Brody spoke. Don't leave on his account, he said, gesturing toward Bennett with his cigar. It's okay, Jim, Bennett said. It's not the first time Elena's run away. I wanted to slap him. I wanted to choke him the way he had choked Maria Nevin 20 years past. The fury that stared through me was fierce. He wasn't more than 2 feet away. It took everything I had to keep my hands at my sides. Do you really want to do that, Bennett? I asked quietly. Do you really want to push me? You, of all people, should know better. You, of all people, should know I don't give a rat's ass what other people think of me or of anything I do. You want to be back in the news? I asked. You want to have the Maria Nevin case dug up and spread out for the media to feed on all over again? Because if you push me, I guarantee that's what will happen. You can put your family through that. You can have reporters camped on the doorstep of your house, following your wife everywhere she goes, hounding her. Leave her out of this. Don't fuck with me, Bennett, I said, my voice low and vibrating with rage. I don't have anything to lose. I turned and walked out. Like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Bye.